spiritual conversation. Peace to the tribe, peace to the collective. I'm the Hood Mystic here with another video. Today, we're going to be talking about shadow work in the context of marriage. Now, when we say marriage or we talk about marriage, what are we specifically talking about? Because the institution of marriage, as far as a legal marriage or common law marriage or biblical marriage or ritualistic marriage, business marriage, a marriage to unite two families, see, an arranged marriage. I've just listed a whole slew of variances on the theme of marriage. And with that being said, what are we actually talking about when we talk about marriage? So I'm going to open up this conversation with a Bible verse, and then I'm going to segue into the video that I'm going to be reacting to. But the Bible verse that I'm going to open up with give us a biblical foundation just so we're not pulling things out of the sky. That is why a man leaves his father and mother, is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. This is a segue into sex and what happens when a man and a woman has sex. They become married. So, if your fundamental shadow work paradigm is not from this space, then you will never get clear on who you are spiritually. Whether you've had sex at a young age, later age, whoever you have sex with, that represents a marriage to which there are systems in place that bring you into alignment, but not actually doing the work. And people say doing the work, and they're not always clear. Let's talk about the clear work that a person must do when they've had premarital sex, meaning that they've had sex with somebody. And that sex that they had with that person, they cannot establish a long term relationship, but the energy based upon being one flesh with that person is present. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, whether you want to accept it or not, this is the definition of the work. So you write their name down, you write the experience, and then you let it go. Now, one would say, you mean just write it down and that's going to help me? How is not writing it down going to help you? How is trying to forget something that you can't forget going to let it go? So deep shadow work, deep release work, because we are dealing with the waning moon, is how we get into a space of understanding marriages. But if you think because you haven't got a ring on your finger or haven't had a long-term relationship that you've never been married, that is a fallacy, a logical fallacy. Because the institution of marriage is a later creation. The reality of marriage is a creation since the origin of the human race. Adam and Eve, as a representation of what happens at an atomic level, a chemical level, a molecular level, a spiritual level. All of these things represent true marriage, divine marriage. But the lower egoic levels of just having sex and acting like it ain't nothing, it creates shadow. What do I mean by it creates shadow? The things that you are not aware of, but they live within you as previous experience is shadow. The things that you don't really know about yourself is shadow. Your past lives, shadow. Your future lives, Shadow. So shadow work ultimately is developing your psychic nature. But there is a reason, okay? And I just got to get on track. But I want to show you that there is a reason. There is a reason that from 1940, well, from 1890 to 1940, indigenous melanated Americans outmarried people of all races. There's a reason for that. And the destruction of that particular paradigm is also the reason why we are now the least married of all races. When we look at the degradation of our community, when we look at our incapability to have fruitful relationships, there is a reason for it. The understanding of marriage is what has been vacated, meaning that for the young men, the sex is just sex, which have kind of been a thing for men. But now for the young women, sex is sex. But there was a time, there was a biblical point of view where sex was marriage. So the video that I'm going to be reacting to today, and let me set up my screen a little better. It's from Let's Rant About It. And in this video, they're talking about very marriage centered video. And what I want to point out is how everybody's definition of marriage is different. Think about how crazy that is. And this brings me to the same conversation in reference to God. Everybody's viewpoint of God is different. Everybody's spiritual journey is different. Everybody's shadow is different. And so is marriage. So imagine you meet somebody and their understanding of marriage is different from your understanding of marriage, but you never get clear on what y'all understand marriage to be. But then in the longer span of time, you end up with your heart broken. And then it's like, and then you on podcasts talking about marriage. If we're going to discuss marriage, you have to define marriage, what marriage means to you as an individual, and be clear with that disposition. So this goes back to the conversation that we were having yesterday. If you go to a restaurant and when you look at the menu, the first thing on the menu is a list of their bills that they have to pay and not the food that they serve, at a certain point, you would be confused at what establishment you're at. And I know that analogy might be a little bit abstract, But if you go into relationships with what you want out of the relationship, you're not even in the ballpark of even servicing the relationship. So therefore, you need to get clear and fingers crossed that you deal with clear people, because marriage and shadow work, if people was able to understand this, it'll be 1,000 people in the shadow work course. But everybody is having sex, and everybody is just cool with the fact that they don't have a soul. Because when you have sex with somebody, you are saying you are God to me. It is a very sacred and ritualistic act that you shouldn't be having at 15, 16, 17, unless you're going to be with that person forever. But we already know the niggas that you was having sex with, the girls that you was having sex with when you was in your teenage years, you not dealing with them today. What makes this a part of shadow work? That is a hidden aspect in your psychology that you're not even willing to deal with, but you're willing to move forward in your spiritual journey. But that nigga is holding you back. That woman is holding you back. And if you don't want to do the journal work behind your past relationships, it don't matter what you do. Don't matter how much money you make. And this breeds into the afterlife. And you would never fully understand why Scorpio is ruled by the sexual organs, but the tarot card for Scorpio is death. You would never get it. The way that society have steered young men and women, especially young black men and young women, is towards death. And the specific way they do it is through sex. And sex it breeds a certain emotion. So I can almost guarantee you, you have sex with a boy, your relationship don't work out, and to replace that boy, you start eating food. Now you're a foodie because you're heartbroken. And the only thing that soothes that pain is food. You got to release that energy. You got to become present. You have to start to understand your spirit and your soul. And I knew that we was cooked because we was coming into the spiritual community. The Pluto was shifting into Capricorn in 2008, and we were having this. Bobby Hemmett was on every YouTube channel, lectures for 8 hours. We were expanding this consciousness, and this expanded consciousness infused with the feminism concept, it bred more of like the sexual undertone of spirituality. We had the nature boys, like all of the niggas was into like certain levels of polygamy in reference to their spiritual development. Because breaking out of the patriarchy meant also understanding the ways of different ways that people live. And so the issue is you can be polygamous all you want, but if everybody ain't in sync, i.e., nature boy, you can be polygamous and in jail for life because you ain't even vetting properly. You just in love with the clout of what the spirit brings to you because the spirit brings a lot of energy. The spirit brings a lot of attention. Spirit brings a lot of money, and that can easily be transferred into the ego. To which I want you to be so crystal clear on what marriage means to you, as opposed to just implying and being implicit that marriage is a universal doctrine. If you don't even like, so you could be in a relationship right now with somebody and you don't call them your husband and your wife, but y'all live together. I know it's grown ass people. One's in the chat if you know grown ass people that got a boyfriend or a girlfriend, live together having sex. That should be your red flag right there, because the energies that y'all experiencing is going to last your whole life. But y'all already know it ain't going to be forever because y'all classifying each other as boyfriend and girlfriend. But y'all having sex every day, living together, splitting bills, but there is no business or foundation behind the situation. So once again, I'm not about to like super yap. I am gonna get to the reaction video. Just wanted to make sure people is here on the chat before I do so. So let's bring it into. Just want to have my handy dandy notes. Got that. Got those. Let's go. So we're talking about whether marriages should be open or not. And our poison is the Western mind. What do I mean by our poison is the Western mind? How many countries are polygamous? Polygamy is legal in 58 out of nearly 200 sovereign states, the vast majority of them being Muslim majority countries. Some countries that permit polygamy have restrictions, such as the first wife to give her consent, so forth and so on. So I'm just throwing that out there as a starting point because now you start off. Now, this is circular reasoning, okay, guys? And circular reasoning is not shadow work. My assumption is stated in my opening. So, my assumption is that open marriages are bad, polygamy is bad, and therefore, we're going to have a conversation based upon what I view is negative. That's not a conversation at all. It becomes an attack. It becomes a dismissal of everything you have to say. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you are having a conversation with somebody and they state their assumption before they get into a conversation, you are not about to deal with no science. You are not about to deal with any expansion. If anything, you'll be trapped into circular reasoning. And if you're trying to like navigate this circle, you'll be caught up in the whirlpool. So whether you decide to be monogamous or polygamous, it doesn't make one bad or one good. When you have a personal choice, you just more or less state your personal choice, your personal preference, and then give other people the space to be able to say what their personal preference is. That is love. That is amazing. When you have two people that's willing to be honest with one another, and the reality that you can't be honest in your relationship is because either you or your partner has not done shadow work. And what do you mean you haven't done shadow work? You haven't got clear on your past relationships in a spiritual way. So if somebody is taught, and what do I mean by this? It'll be something that hurt you to the core. It broke you down. You crying your eyes to sleep. You can't even sleep. You drinking, you eating, you doing all of this stuff. And it's really bothering you. And if anybody talk about it, you back in that space again. You like, oh, I don't want to hear this no more. I don't want to talk about it no more. I don't bring him up, right? I don't want to talk about him. That means you haven't healed that part. It is that wound is sore to touch. And a lot of men and women have these particular wounds that are sore to touch. And because of this, we need to be so super clear that it isn't that you can talk about it and laugh about it. That's when you're doing the spiritual work related to your shadow. So let's continue. No sound. Let me take it back. Take it back. Take it back. Let's see. How am I going to do it? Remove source. Do it like that. Peace to the tribe. Peace to the collective. Like the video. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. 2025. Discussing this good old shadow work and marriage. And my base premise is that marriage is not a clear concept. Marriage is something that has to be specifically stated and specifically brought to the surface, or else you might have a concept of what you think marriage is, and you might think, and your partner might think a whole different concept, but y'all not specifically clear because the assumption within you is so strong. And the reason your assumption is so strong because you're holding on to an idea because that idea has not played out in previous relationships. So the more it doesn't happen, the more you get stronger on that idea, the more you start to curate yourself and curate others, and then hope like, this better be the one, or I'm gonna do something. And at a certain point, if you keep going through relationship to relationship, getting your heart broke, it is going to create a certain level of rage. Not for the ways that you're thinking though. It could be one person that bring out that rage, but that rage didn't come from that one person. You crazy. That rage have happened ever since childhood. Ever since you haven't had a real understanding of your parents. So, what do I mean by a real understanding of your parents? In the context of shadow work, from the context of shadow work, when we look at our parents, we might have met our parents when they were 25. Like they had us when they was 25, 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever. And then your parent is a grown person. You just now coming into contact with this grown person. But your psychological understanding as a child, you have to fill in a lot of blanks for your parent because they're going to tell you one-sided stories. They're going to lie, embellish, not even tell you certain things about their true nature and true character. But this is what we do as children. We idolize our parents. However, there are some things that we filled in the blanks for with our parents. How we project this onto people is you gotta be actually serious in understanding how your upbringing directly corresponds to how you relate to people. Directly responds. So if you lack love at home, you're going to search for that same love in a stranger. Think about how preposterous that is. So, in the middle point, what I hope that you can start to realize is that that's where you need to do shadow work because you don't need a nigga for shit. You don't need a woman for shit. You can actually be the one who provides value, match up with somebody that provide value, and y'all just reciprocate and provide value to one another. The ways for which we have set up our society in relationships, the reason why relationships are so repulsive is because we don't even want to even be a psychologist no more. We don't even want to deal with the trauma of your past relationships. We shouldn't have to, especially if we're talking about giving and supporting and showing up for. You should come with some shadow work already in tow. But if I start talking about your ex right now, or some past situations that have happened to you right now, you more than likely to go back into that trigger emotional space. So because you are so apt to go to that space energetically, mentally, emotionally, those are still wounds.
Put it up here for this one person, and we really gonna rock
Let me know if you can hear.
life out. You know, when you really look at life for what it is, it's like, yo, this shit comes in all types of ways. We went through COVID, all these. You want somebody to go through life with, you know what I'm saying? And that's one person. You don't want three different opinions about what's going on. You just want one person to say, this shit fucked up. Yeah, it's fucked up. You know what I'm saying? You want that one person. So having everybody in your marriage, like, that shit ain't gonna be a marriage for long. We know that shit don't never work for real.
I think sometimes these relationships and marriages be going through the ups and downs they go through because they lack God. I think that they lack God, and I think that it's obvious that they don't have God at the center of what it is they call a relationship.
The union before God. That's what marriage
and
is.
I think that a lot of these relationships aren't going to withstand the testament of time for real.
Facts.
Because they're not meant to be together to begin with.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like when your marriage is already messed up, it's because the foundation before marriage was messed up.
Absolutely.
A lot of people
That's a
get
good
married
point.
nowadays. You asking like, can you have an open marriage? People have open relationships.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be faithful anymore. You know, nobody wants to be committed to one person no more. And people really just want.
And so it's like when you say nobody wants to be committed to one person no more, you're implying that there was a time where men were faithful. And I really need y'all to reflect on y'all grandfathers real quick and y'all great granddaddies real quick. Y'all uncles, y'all older uncles. Just need y'all to reflect on them niggas and how they gave it up and how they get down. I'm more apt to say that any man that could get extra vagine, he was going for it in a certain capacity. Even the men that couldn't. I think it might be an innate nature within men. And I'm not saying this to trigger nobody. I'm saying this so you are mentally prepared to deal with a man. If you deal with a man that says, I don't look at no other woman sexually attractive except you, that man is a liar. And you might like him a lot, and he might like you a lot, but he might be attracted to another woman. And it's all good until that other woman is attracted to him. The level of seduction and magnetism in reference to a woman that wants to be with you or make love to you, not a lot of men is strong enough to resist that threshold or temptation. And I know you might be saying, Hood, this is sexist. I don't agree. And I would just want you to take a test. If you're a guy, walk outside with some booty shorts and a halter top. See how many people stop and offer to give you a ride. Now reverse that if you're a woman. Go walk down the street in booty shorts and a halter top in the winter time with some high heels on. I'm almost sure that somebody is going to beep or honk or stop, offer to give you a ride. So when we talk about shadow work and the animus, the inner masculine of a woman, because a woman have masculine energy and a man have feminine energy, the 52 fake out is that men are sexual deviants and can't stop having sex with women. Because even if we try, it's going to be more difficult to access. However, y'all don't have to try in most cases, especially if your animus is running the show. So when there is no specific recognition of the animus inside women, they're going to be more prone to go through what is called a whole phase. where the animus has an idea. The only issue with being super sexual is that your anatomy does not support super sexuality. And that begins to be a point of resentment because it's not really sound or safe or healthy to just have sex with a bunch of different men. And then you have another burden, which is called pregnancy. So if a man have sex with 10 women, he would never get pregnant. But if a woman have sex with 10 men, she would get pregnant. And we could have the same animus. We could have the same animus, meaning the same male projection to life. So that's why it's called a whole phase. Generally, a phase is something that starts and ends, and then you'll move to a regular motion. And so, therefore, you have to come to some realization of what do I want anatomically versus what I want internally. So there is a meme. I wish I could find it. It is a certain type of anger when you're dealing with a good man. It's a certain type of rage that you need to get in check when you're doing shadow, where you need to do some shadow work when you're dealing with a good man. And that rage comes from the inability to not, your animus cannot flex when you with a good man. And the animus is just the inner masculine. Every quality that a male have energetically, a woman has it. Every quality that a woman has energetically, a man has it. We have full capacity and full range to do everything that each other can do, but there is an anatomical limited ability to how we can even express ourselves. So it is not safe for a man to cry. That does not mean that your husband or son don't have emotions, but if he ever cried and he had been viewed as weak, his anatomy is not weak. He just have not got in tune with his anima. When you have a little boy, all you tell him to be is a boy. When you have a little girl, all you tell her to be is a girl. But we know for sure that you have the effeminate boys, you have the tomboys, which are girls that skew masculine, and it will it's very rare that I find a woman that didn't have a tomboy phase. At least a year, 6 months, she explored that animus, that inner male. He was climbing trees, wearing overalls. But see, modern scientists, have taken the Jungian analytical psychology and synthesized it and made it extreme. So now we have a whole movement and a whole exacerbation of what the inner anima and animus truly represents. You are supposed to integrate and understand these particular nuances about your psychology, not embody them totally. Even though I'm emotional and I can't let go, I'm trying to let no. If I'm emotional, I have to process it in reference to, like, because when you're so emotional and you're so stressed, you present you your body produces cortisol, and in that cortisol, you are damaging your inner psychology, your inner biology, your inner chemistry, because you're always stressed, you're gaining weight, you're losing it mentally. Therefore, if you're able, and a man that's able to process his emotion, i.e., by getting out his frustrations in a healthy way, i.e., exercising, he is now relating to his inner anima or inner feminine because he is becoming desirable. And when you are a man, and you lose your desirability, the only thing you can use from that point is money. Therefore, as a man, you have to keep your essence strong. You have to keep your viral nature because a man is a man. And from here to the time that you transition, you can live a healthy life, right? So I had to just get into my little shadow work mode. Let's get back to this video. Let me know if y'all can hear it. Ones in the chat if y'all can hear it.
Want to get married because, well, I spent so much time with this person, let's get married. But if you're cheating on this person before you get married, then you're gonna cheat on that person after you get married because it's about the foundation, it's not about the ring.
People want the wedding and not the marriage.
That's
Exactly.
it. Especially
They
women.
don't,
They
they
want the
don't,
ring and the wedding.
especially women, and men do it because I'm gonna just give her what she wants.
That's it.
That's
Opposed to
it.
saying this is what God has ordained.
Exactly.
It's the union before
Exactly.
God. That I am the head and she is the rib, and where I lack, she is to hold it together. That's what it's. That's biblically what it's for. People don't go through marriage counseling with a pastor.
Nope.
They don't. You don't have a God-fearing man. You don't have a God-fearing woman. Prayer and the prayer life is not the center of your marriage or your life, and so that's why you lack discipline, because that's what cheating and all that is. It's a lack of discipline.
Absolutely.
Being obedient starts with God, and you be obedient to yourself.
Negative. So once you get married,
As soon as you mention God, you know what time
I've
it
had
is.
enough of this malarkey. So once you get married, there's no such thing as cheating. Okay? When you go, you say them vows, you, her, and God become what? One. So when he go get some coochie, it's not just him. It's y'all.
So can I come with you?
You there.
Can I come
we
with
are
you?
there in spirit.
No. If you go get some coochie
I'm
physically,
performing as one.
okay?
I want coochie too.
He probably
Hercules. But not for real, like, the construct of marriage is so outdated. I think this the only thing we ain't changed since
not
the
fair.
education system, since the biblical days.
So this is one of my main points in reference to marriage being a concept, or even imagining that you're single and your gateway to marriage is dating. My personal opinion is that your gateway to marriage is spiritual development. Understanding your psychology, understanding who you are, and creating a energy with yourself that you become unstoppable. And even if you are in a specific marriage or specific relationship, that relationship with self is always going to be primary, because people come, people go, people leave for reasons beyond infidelity. So marriage is a concept that has nothing to do with marriage, if that makes sense. Because when we talk about marriage, what are we talking about? Are we talking about monogamy? Are we talking about chastity? Are we talking about virginity? A lot of people equate marriage to virginity. So therefore, if we're talking about marriage and we're talking about the actual concept, and the actual concept is virginity, then you are already married to the person that took your virginity. To whereas no need to get on a podcast to talk about to talk about marriage. You need to talk to your daughter as soon as possible. You need to talk to your son as soon as possible, if marriage is virginity. Because understanding that in different religions, in different aspects, in different communities, in different nations, marriage is viewed differently. There is no specific panel podcast to where you're going to be able to create a resolution within yourself on what marriage truly is. Really finding someone that is, or even being that person that is marriageable. Is it being respectable? Is it a responsibility? Is it business? A lot of people marry based upon family and wealth. If that is the original concept for marriage for political gain, what exactly are you talking about when you are talking about romance and love and cheating? What are you talking about? Somebody please explain to me, if marriage is a political union, what does love got to do with it? Who needs a heart when a heart can be broke? Tina Turner said it best. So we need to define marriage. We need to figure out what is the motive behind being married for this individual person. And then we need to define it and operate within a specific contract and a specific understanding between masculine and feminine, man or woman and woman, man and man, however y'all do it, because there is a such thing as gay marriage. So then you will say, well, that's not marriage. This is marriage between a man and a woman, and it's all about being chaste. Like, so you gonna just dismiss this whole bunch of human beings that feel this way about marriage? Have nothing to do with me. And they seem to be in happy, healthy relationships. Doubly don't have nothing to do with me. They wasn't never going to give me no ass. We wasn't never going to link up. So it's not my concern. My specific concern is understanding this shit from my own perspective and speaking to people who want to be married. What the fuck? Who want to have happy, successful marriages, meaning that it is something that matters to you. If you don't give a fuck about being married, then don't give a fuck about being married. But there are people who feel at an energetic and spiritual level that they need to be connected to somebody. Feminism will have you thinking that you can have sex and still get married. A lot of people just believe that. You can have as much casual sex as you want to have while you're single, and when you're done having casual sex, there'll be a guy just waiting for you to get married. Society say, as a man, you can just have sex with all of these women and it won't ruin your life. That shit is nothing that's going to ruin your dreams, your goals, in your life more than having sex at a young age if you a man. It's nothing. You could probably make it from doing heroin. You could probably make it from having a extreme opioid addiction better than you can make it from getting extracurricular pussy throughout your lifetime. To which the superior man does not ever sweat a woman for sex. And every man has the ability to be the superior man. You can wait as a man, you can build yourself as a man, and a woman will show up. I promise you, she will show up when you work on yourself. But when you chasing a woman, you might as well be chasing her and smoking crack at the same time. Because at least you got a chance with going to AACA. There is no casual sex anonymous. It's just your life being ruined. So for a man and a woman, casual sex is the atomic bomb to your ability to have a successful long-term relationship. So when I look at casual sex, I look at it as like a freedom to ruin your life without nobody saying anything. One's in the chat if y'all can hear.
I think we need marriage reform, and with that,
Marriage reform is crazy.
no, seriously, like we need to start having marriage license. Let's renew it. Okay, every 5 years you got to renew the marriage license, like your driver license, like your nurse license. So at the end of these 5 years, I don't have to cheat. I can opt out this relationship and get out of here.
5 years a long time.
Boy, you
Come
know,
on,
2K,
man.
we be
So when you insert, so this is shadow work, right? This situation. I'm gonna replay it, and I'm gonna show you full blown out shadow work, because when you don't do shadow work and people hit you with points, when people hit you with facts, when you don't do shadow work, the thing you don't do is reflect and say, whether you agree or not, you say, damn, that's right. I like that. When you don't do shadow work, when somebody say a fact or you say a fact, the first thing that a person is going to do is start talking shit about you. They're going to start going in on you, start joking on you, start saying how what you saying is stupid. But the reality of marriage is that it does need to be reformed. It needs to be changed. If you talk about an institution that has never been adjusted or changed to represent the current climate, then ultimately you're cool with an outdated system. And therefore, when we talk about marriage, what are we talking about? The term marriage is vague. So why not be clear on something that is vague through reform? What's wrong with reforming? What's wrong with amending? What's wrong with addressing and understanding that this might be wrong in the system and we need to kind of just adjust this, tinker this here and there so it accommodates everybody involved? But once again, it's a very quick shift of energy. And the energy shift in all times is going to happen when you say a truthful fact. The light banter and the jokes, everybody is good vibes. And then you say something truthful, and now people don't reflect. They look at the person that's saying the truth. Classic shadow work exposition display right here. One's in the chat if y'all can hear it.
The construct of marriage is so outdated. I think this is the only thing we ain't changed since
not
the
fair.
education system, since the biblical days. I think we need marriage reform, and with that,
Marriage reform is crazy.
no, seriously, like we need to start having marriage license. Let's renew it. Okay, every 5 years you got to renew the marriage license, like your driver license, like your nurse license. So at the end of these 5 years, I don't have to cheat. I can opt out this relationship and get out of here.
5 years a long time.
boy, you
Come
know,
on,
2K,
man.
we be on the same page, and then you start pissing me off. Then when you start pissing me off, every time you've been real quiet so far. What you over here cooking
I
on?
bring y'all solutions.
No, you bring up
Nobody else
bullshit.
do it.
That's bullshit.
You
That's
bring
all
Man,
us-
you, I think the boy's slow.
You
I'm gonna play it again. I'm gonna play it again, and I'm gonna talk about it again because you sound crazy. That sound crazy. We was on the same page until you said some bullshit. When we're having conversations, it's very important that we mature very quickly into listening to what another person is saying without critiquing them. When a person is speaking, they're uttering a concept that you can then reflect on. You can reflect on the concept without having an ad hominem attack. So when you get deep, you trigger somebody. To be triggered means that you gotta kind of destroy the source of that trigger. And when you destroy that source of that trigger, then now everybody is cool. Everybody is happy. I want you to understand this shit. I want you to see it in real time because this can happen very well when you having a conversation with somebody and then then they start going in on you. At that point, that's when you need to understand this person have never done shadow work and this person is not even prepared to hear what they not ready to hear.
He probably
Hercules.
But not for real, like the construct of marriage is so outdated. I think this the only thing we ain't changed since
not
the
fair.
education system, since the biblical days. I think we need marriage reform, and with that,
Marriage reform is crazy.
no, seriously, like we need to start having marriage license. Let's renew it. Okay, every 5 years you got to renew the marriage license, like your driver license, like your nurse license. So at the end of these 5 years, I don't have to cheat. I can opt out this relationship and get out of here.
5 years a long
Boy,
time.
you
Come
know,
on,
okay, we be on the same page.
If you really listen, a renew because if you're married to somebody and you know you got 5 years and then you can renew it for another 5 years and you just can keep renewing your marriage certificate, that make a lot of sense in reference to people who are in and out of relationships in 2 years. The last nigga you was with, you've been with for 6 months and it didn't work out. The last girl you was with her for 2 years. It didn't work out. We renew our driver's license every 4 to 5 years. Marriage license, driver license. See how that works? It don't even really make logical sense to assume that you're going to be with this person forever. If we just look up the basic marriage statistics, the divorce rates, what's the divorce rates for 2024? The divorce rate in the United States is estimated to be between 40 and 50% of marriages. Those are very high statistics. It's a lot of shit you wouldn't do if it was 40 to 50% chances that you wasn't going to make it. If it was a 40 to 50% chance that you was going to crash on the plane, you wouldn't even get on the plane crash. You wouldn't take that plane. You'd be like, no, fuck it, I would drive. If you had a 50% chance to, if you had a 10% chance to crash on an airplane, would you take an airplane? If 10 planes flew and one of those planes was going to crash and you didn't know if you was going to catch the plane that was going to crash, would you ever get on the plane? You probably wouldn't. So the same thing goes for marriage. Why are you going to assume? And the ego is why, right? The ego says, I'm gonna get into this marriage and it's going to last forever. That's what the ego says. But the reality of it is that 40 to 50% of marriages end in divorce. So therefore, a specific time frame for you to go back to the courthouse to see if you want to continue it makes a lot of sense. And even if it didn't make any sense to you, it doesn't mean that he's talking bullshit. It don't mean that he's stupid. It don't mean that he's talking nonsense. It means that you stop listening. That's what it exactly means. So what I'm going to do, because I feel like I'm gonna play it and it ain't going to be working. So let me go back over here, remove source. Peace to the tribe. Make sure you like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me up this playback speed to 1.25. Like the video if you haven't liked the video. One's in the chat if you can hear the video when I play it.
and then you start pissing me off. Then when you start pissing me off, every time you've been real quiet
I
so
only
far. What
do
you over here
this.
cooking
I
up?
bring y'all solutions.
No, you bring up
Nobody else
bullshit.
do it.
That's bullshit.
You
That's
bring
all
Between me and
that-
you, I think the boy's slow.
You
That's okay.
And so what you thinking over here? Because you over here marinating.
No, I just don't. I don't think that. I think it's different now because people have remixed what marriage is to be completely different than what it was in yesteryear. You know what I'm saying? I think that people got too many options. They make themselves available to too many people.
Facts.
Social media.
Social media also,
Opposite sex.
and I don't think that guys cheat as much as people try to make it out to be. I don't. No, I really don't. I think that women cheat more.
Right.
You don't think-
Right.
Wow. That's-
No. Not only do they cheat more, I think they
Yes.
cheat more successfully.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's bullshit.
Really?
'Cause I suck at cheating.
Individual.
What happens when you cheat?
I mean, I've never really done it, but I've done things where like,
I suck at cheating, but I never really done it. That is what you call an oxymoron. And we just got to have the adult conversation in reference to human beings and their nature. So, you can't say men cheat more than women when it's easier for a woman to have sex. Very hard for a man to have sex. So that fact alone, maybe a woman don't want to cheat, but if she wanted to cheat, she very well could. So the issue is a moral authority and a moral disposition that doesn't really equate to reality. So you say women don't cheat. Why do you say that? Men cheat all the time. Why do you say that? Why do you think that? It's not a sensitive issue for real. It's just a reality of understanding psychology and biology and then saying, "Oh, I'm going to act in a certain way or I'm going to understand things in a certain way because it's easier for me than it is for him." An example would be in reference to male strength. To assume that a woman could deadlift 225 pounds just because I seen a girl online do it, that's not going to be right and exact for a majority of women. So therefore, you can't never say because you dealt with somebody that cheated that all men are cheaters. The same way I can't say because I seen a girl deadlift 225 that women are stronger. I just would have to look at the biology and the reality of the situation. There's a whole system in reference to men buying vagina. There isn't no real system. If you really wanted to get some D, you couldn't go online and get you could, I guess, but I never heard of no woman. Have any woman got online and ordered a male prostitute before? You don't have to get a male prostitute because it's so easy for you to have sex. So that's a observation, right? That's just an objective truth. It's okay to see that it is very easy for you to have sex if you want to have sex. On the contrary, the man is very hard for him to have sex. So the cheating conversation is a result of shadow. You've dealt with a man that have cheated on you, or you've dealt with a woman that have cheated on you. Therefore, all men and all women must act like this because you've experienced it. So when you sit back and you say this cheating conversation, man, these men gotta work hard, gotta gotta make sure that they not cheating or whatever the case may be. And then Then you get into some like nitty gritty psychology. What is nitty gritty psychology? What's the number one romantic movie? They said Casablanca, Titanic. Let's just do Titanic. Titanic. Did Rose cheat on her husband? No, she didn't cheat on her husband. Hold on. She d- oh, it does say that. It says Rose is considered to have cheated on her fiance, Cal Huckley, by having a passionate affair with Jack Dawson. Do y'all see the psychology, or do I need to keep going? I never seen Casablanca. Is Casablanca dealing with infidelity? Rick and Elsa have an affair even after she reappears with her husband. Okay, I ain't seen Casablanca. I ain't gonna get into it. But another one is the Notebook. I know the girls love the Notebook. Is the Notebook about cheating? Yes, the Notebook is considered to be about cheating. So this is where you need to do shadow work at. If cheating is a sore spot for you, because there's also some shit that's going to turn you on. The pressure of a man within a relationship is to be attracted to other women because that's what a woman wants. She wants a man that is attractive to other women, or to other men rather. Or no, I said it right the first time. Shit. This is psychology though. So at the surface, you want a man that don't cheat. But at the deeper psychology, you want him to be sexually desirable to other women. It's touching because it have to do with some level of infidelity. And when you become okay with infidelity, your world is open to all types of possibilities and acceptance of love. That is the love story, essentially. It's okay that you had sex with somebody. It's okay that I had sex with somebody. That is the premise of love. Meaning that if you can't get past it in your own life, if you can't get past it in your baby father, you can't get over the fact that your baby father is attracted or was attractive to another woman and had sex with another woman, then you would never get, of course, obviously you wouldn't love him, right? But you could love him if you were okay with that. But you're not okay with it, so therefore it's a means to not be with them. And sometimes the dude just don't even have sex. He didn't even cheat. He just boring. I've done I've had conversations with people, and the reason that they left their relationship is because it just wasn't exciting. And what they mean by exciting, they wanted to be single and have relationships with other men because that was more exciting. So and everybody is different, but I would dare to wager there's a lot of people that just need to be okay with other people having sex. Like you just need to get over it. Be okay with it way before you meet somebody. Like have a psychological foundation that it's not the end of the world if that person have had sex before or after me. Just a thought. I was thought I was sharing a screen. One's in the chat if y'all can hear it.
You know you're gonna feel it, you're gonna see it. So I just suck at it. I'm not good at it.
I think. Go
But when
ahead.
I'm loyal,
I
I'm
mean,
loyal.
I
I'm
think
so
that
loyal,
women
like a
suck at
dog.
relationships in general.
Wait a
No, they really do.
So I can agree.
Why?
I can agree I can agree a little bit because women have a thought of a type, and
Yeah.
a type is false.
Yeah,
Because
that's always
a
the
lot of
person I'm
times
comfortable
we look for something that's not for real, and social media gives us this false sense of reality when it comes to life in general. So look at these pictures. They're the Lulu Darla. They look at these pictures of what they think it is, and they don't know what. They look at the surface. They don't know what's going on behind.
Do you
closed
know what was
doors.
the first delusion y'all had? Disney Channel. Okay, I think we need to start living life in reverse. I don't let my kids watch Disney because I don't want them to think an ugly frog gonna kiss a frog and a Prince Charming gonna come out the way. I start them off with Tina Turner in the Ike store.
Hey, ain't that crazy? I called it. I called it. What's love got to do with it? See, love is an internal relationship. Love is a process that you start with burning herbs and getting in tune with your spirit. That's the root of love. When you are in your spiritual mode, you attract the person that you're supposed to be with. When you love yourself from a spiritual level, when you are actively asserting yourself within the confines of relating to a person, when you're trying, see, real love, bro, real love, sis, is starting from nothing and never judging that person. And the only way you get to never judging that person is when you have an unconditional love for self. It gives you the tolerance to deal with imperfect people. And it gives you the humility because you're imperfect yourself. The delusion and the illusion of grandeur is an ego construct that moves you further and further away from the possibility to ever have love because you want so much from another person. That's why you get an older particular stereotype of a person with all of these standards and people look at them like, are you crazy? It don't work like the older you get, the lesser your standards go. It go the older you get, the more your standards raise. Not because you're in the space of love, because you're in the space of hurt, because you're in the space of unawareness, because you're in the space of selfishness. When you are younger, you are more in tune with your spirit, so you are naturally in the space of love, but you didn't have guidance. Therefore, it's like you have the energy to drive the car, you just was on the passenger seat of the vehicle. And then when you crash, you looked at the closest person to blame. But what is the shadow work in this instance? Get back in the driver's seat. Get back into control of your life. So if you are a person that is unmarried and you want to be married, stand in the fact that you want to be married. And then deal with the spaces and places where you don't show up as a marriageable person now. But the ego says, I don't need to be married. I don't need to be in a relationship. I just want to be alone. That's the ego. And that ego is not fueled by love. It could be a person with the most beautiful rhetoric, poetic. You follow her on social media, and she gets on her IG and she talks about how happy she is being alone. It may be true, but what I'm telling you is that it's not fueled by the spirit. It's not fueled by love. It's fueled by pain. It's fueled by having your guards up. And that's perfectly fine. That's like going to prison and niggas wanting to go to the hole. Nobody want to go to the hole. Cause as soon as a nigga get an opportunity to get out the hole, he be up out there and he be happy. Why is he happy even though he's still in jail? Because he is around people. This is human nature. It goes beyond logic and poetry and rationalization. It is with you were created from two people coming together, therefore it is in your nature to want to find that in life. Most people don't stand on it though, especially if you got a little money. Then your relationship is the fiat currency.
But what? I want to be real with my children. And
With
then we
his
work our way
children.
down to. But what? I want to be real with my children. And
With
then we
his
work our way
children.
down to.
The fact that he say children was enough.
And then we work our way down to that. But they need to know all the aspects of what marriage look like.
How old you let them? How old were you when they saw Tina getting slapped around in the limousine?
But she 8 now. So that was like 6. But she had to see it.
Tina fought back in that limo.
She did.
Yeah, she did.
Tina
She
won.
fought back.
But I'm not sure that
came to
Tina
life.
ever. I'm not sure that Tina ever got married again. Though.
She did.
She did.
Tina
So white
did.
man.
Yeah.
So like that.
Like a
I
German.
don't
Her
mind
manager,
that.
her manager, her manager.
It's always the man.
Yeah.
And
It's always a guy that's close.
Oh,
to it.
personal.
always
personal
got
trainer.
always
Savior complex.
always a man that's handling business.
Oh, you dumb bitches. Moving on with the guy that makes sense.
No. It's always a guy that handle business until it's like a Wendy Williams situation.
Yeah.
Then they gonna say.
Next week.
Then they gonna say that, oh no, you know what I'm saying? He taking advantage of her or he leeching off of her.
Yeah.
I never felt like that.
So it's a yin and a yang, right? Because you'll never be able to make.
This makes me think about Mary J. Blige and Kendu Isaacs. This is the quintessential where. So the story was Mary J. Blige was in a relationship with KC from Jodeci, and they had a real toxic relationship. I heard it was like domestic DV and things of that nature. So she ended up getting out of that relationship with KC, and she ends up marrying her producer. His name was Kendu Isaacs. They was married from 2003 to 2016. And the reality of it was he took advantage of Mary J. Blige because he took care of the business. And even when the relationship was over, she still had to pay him $30,000 a month. So what does happen with successful women is that, like she said, it makes sense for her to be with the manager or the man closest to her, but it still doesn't serve the spiritual nature of the human being, which is an inner development, an inner connection with your soul. Because it's not logical. Your love that you find in your life will not be logical. It won't make sense. When it makes sense, that's when you're taking advantage of. Because love is not sensical or logical or governed, and there is no definite basis of marriage. And just because you feel like that don't mean that I agree with that shit. So if I have a disposition that is different from yours, but we make logical sense, we're in the same age bracket, I'm close to you, you trust me, we live in the same neighborhood. The biggest issue is when you live in an apartment building and you get into a relationship with somebody that you live in the same apartment building with. Them be the worst relationships because the only reason that y'all together is proximity. Love, faith is not something that comes easy. Faith comes with risk. Love comes with risk. Love comes with judgment. Love comes with excruciating decision making because now your family don't even fuck with you because you love this man so much or you love this woman so much. Love is not accepting. Love is something that is very abstract. That if you're not specific on how to find it, you'll never find it. This is the beauty of this conversation. You must get into a relationship with your soul. even if you are in a relationship with somebody, because you can be in a relationship with somebody and that's not even the person that you're supposed to be with, but you don't even understand it because you haven't done spiritual work. So when you do spiritual work, when you do burn the herbs, when you do meditation, that person going to shift out of your life and the right person going to come into your life. That's how it works. But if you just forcing it, moving on with somebody that you like or somebody that's close to you, you're going to be in a world of trouble. The path to love is internal. A good book to read on that is Love is a Fire. Teach you all about love and how it's an internal process.
Make them happy. But the key to relationships and the key to marriage is not necessarily what you like about the person, is what you're willing to tolerate. And that's the part that people really don't understand.
Do what works for you.
Well, no, you can't
No,
do
no,
it.
it's a black and white.
No, you can't
it's
do it
the right
works
way
for
and the wrong way.
It's what
No.
you listen.
As a couple, if it works for y'all, it works for y'all.
But it work until it don't. That's what I'm saying.
That's what everything though.
No, it's not with
And then
everything.
you figure out
Because
a new solution.
if you figuring out what it is that you can tolerate with the person. See, it's easy to like a person when they're great, and even when y'all have disagreements or arguments. But it's very difficult when you having that same argument when ain't nobody got no money.
Yeah.
Or you go broke, right? Or you know what I'm saying? It's a situation where you're having a family issue or a life event happen or different things
I
that
don't like
happen.
you no more because that happens.
It's-
I can love you and
yes,
not like you.
I wish my wife was here to tell y'all. Y'all prioritize happiness too much.
Yeah, I agree.
When you take
Yeah.
your vows or you
That's true.
look
We
in the Bible,
prioritize
it-
happiness
listen,
too much?
100%.
He thinks that women
it
prioritize-
don't.
I believe that men prioritize happiness.
Literally.
too.
No,
That's what
think
no,
about
no,
it.
we-
Hold on,
we have the order
okay, so
seven.
I want you to get your.
I'm gonna let it finish, but it gets to a point where when you say something, you can reflect on the thing that's being said without double downing and double backing and say, no, you do that. Because if that is the case, you need to think of another argument. So my example would be if he says that women prioritize happiness too much, why dispute that? Why not reflect on it? Because the concept is too painful to actually think about. The reality of the concept is too painful to reflect on. So, therefore, no, women don't prioritize happiness. Men prioritize happiness. That is not. I'm just trying to think of the logical fallacy. Anyways, I'm gonna let him finish and then that'll conclude this reaction video. But once again, like the video if you like it, share the video, subscribe if you're new here.
Start off, and then I want L and Red to
We
respond.
be miserable with some of y'all. Let's just get that started.
Okay.
Touche.
But once we lock in, you are our misery. Okay.
So what he ended up saying was a man doesn't really prioritize happiness in a marriage because a lot of times when it don't work out, men will just choose to be miserable or unhappy. I think the difference is that we're not able to differentiate happiness over joy. And when you talk about happiness, you need something to happen on the external for you to have a good feeling or a good vibration. And that is a slippery slope for any person. So it's no amount of time that you can love a person. There is no amount of time that you can love a person and then say, I'm not happy, or I'm like, it's nothing that will stop you from being unhappy in a relationship. So with that being said, Do not prioritize happiness, male or woman, in a relationship. Prioritize joy. So, whatever situation and condition that you face with, you will always know how to experience good feelings. Joy comes from an understanding of your spirit. Joy is a magnetizing concept to all positive things in your life. If you do not prioritize joy, then you will not have the good feelings that you are seeking. When you are saying this man makes me happy, then you're also saying this man is not making me happy. What is your solution when that man doesn't make you happy? That's the key. So when we're talking about marriage, the first thing you need to understand, marriage is not singular. Marriage is not one thing. Just because you want to get married and you meet somebody, that doesn't mean that y'all understand marriage to be the same thing, especially if you're dealing with an African. They view marriage completely different than you, and you would need to be clear on what they view marriage is, what your marriage goals are, and what their marriage goals are. Because it is not universal. It is something that is different in every culture, every legal system. Marriage is not one thing. So the concept of you wanting to be married is very crazy to spend your days and your days and nights worrying about. Ultimately, when people say they wish and desire to be married, is something that starts from a process of shadow work, a process of understanding, loving, and accepting yourself, which gives you the ability to do so with the opposite sex, or however you swing your bat. Because when you love yourself, it's easy to accept other people and be tolerant of other people. When you do not have a sincere love for yourself, you are more prone to be triggered and either decide or that other person decide that it's not going to work out because you do not know how to regulate your emotions based upon real things that happen. Real things that happen is that people have sex and build relationships with other people. It's not a slight against you. You are not contrary to the rule. The rule is the rule. So trying to find somebody that don't cheat on you, you might be stepping outside of the person that you're supposed to be with long term. And vice versa. Maybe you are the person that want to be with multiple people long term. But understanding it within yourself will make the biggest difference. You might be one of those ladies that have four husbands on the History Channel or AMC. They might do a special about you next year after you do some sincere shadow work. Meet the girl that has four husbands: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Many people are going to say that marriage is something, but they're also saying what they personally believe. So, what I just said, many people are going to say that marriage is something, but they're only just regurgitating what they personally believe or regurgitating what is normal, quote unquote, what is normal. But what is the definition for marriage? What are the parameters? What are the boundaries? What is the specific things? And if you say, well, you can't cheat and you got to take care of me and you got to do this and you got to do that, that's a personal belief. Depending on your culture and your society, that's a normalcy. It is not a concrete definition that goes across the board like, say, a car. No matter what culture, no matter what belief system you have, a car is a car. A marriage is very flexible. And all it does is when you do not have a clear understanding of marriage, all it is going to shrivel down to is to an emotional space of tumultuosity. Not because the marriage is bad, because you don't have a concrete definition of what marriage is and how you stand in it. You just become an emotional mess. So we should get into a real discussion of what marriage is in your personal life, and more or less, you know, how do we how do we if we're going to be together forever, how do we learn to love one another? And I'm saying that for people that's already in relationships that don't have a spiritual foundation. But if you already are in a relationship that is spiritual at its foundation, then you already locked in with your partner, because this is the love that you've been looking for ever since you entered into this dimension. That's the goal, right? You love somebody in a past life and you looking for them in this life. Fucking niggas off of Tinder is not the way to go if that's your quest. So if you are single, there is still a chance that that person is out there. And how do you find them? You burn the specific herbs. You do the specific spiritual work. You do the ritual. You call that energy to you. You drink soulmate tea, rose, wormwood, and lavender. You fixate and focus on what is already true. Because the reality is, in any lifetime, I'm going to find who I'm supposed to be with. That's the goal. Going to an altar, signing papers, having the government say you're married now, you might be caught up in a system that you feel is marriage, but is not specific to what you're looking for at an energetic and spiritual level. So with all of that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Like I said, like the video if you like it, share to those who might need this video, and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. I'm the Hood Mystic. Make sure y'all check out the Shadow Work Intensive. We got 2 more classes left. This week we're talking about shadow work and relationships. Then the following week we're doing financial shadow work. Shout out to XRP, the XRP Army coming up in the world. Did crazy numbers last night. So shout out to those still investing, still doing their due diligence. Because if it wasn't for shadow work, financial shadow work, I would not be on this wave at all. I just wouldn't be, because I was in a whole lost space within my mind. So with all of that being said, man, make sure y'all join the Substack. Make sure y'all join the Shadow Work Intensive, get the last 2 classes, plus the 3 recordings, plus the workbooks, plus the journal prompts. All this work you can do at your own pace, on your own time, and get the healing that you need. Get in tune with your soul, because I'm going to push this shadow work super hard, because the reality of the shadow work is that you either going to depend on somebody else to save you, or you going to save yourself. Soulmate tea is not nothing to really sell. It's just 3 ingredients: wormwood, rose, lavender. Drink that every night before bed, and that will attract your soulmate. The thing about it though, it might come as a business partner, might come as a best friend, just might come as a child. Your soulmate is just friends of your soul. So soulmate tea, it brings those people in your life. I started drinking that tea and I met like 2 people that I could say is my soulmates, that, like, not saying that we had sex or we fell in love. I just know they my soulmates type shit. But it was from drinking this tea. It was almost immediate too. So, and maybe it's not immediate for you. You don't drink tea like that. Maybe I don't even want to give that impression that it can happen fast. But the impression that I do want to give is, if you drink these teas before you go to bed, you will attract somebody in your life. And the reason that's important, because you're not supposed to be alone all the time. One's in the chat. One's in the chat if you know you're not supposed to be alone all the time. And if you feel like you need to be alone, that is fueled from pain, man. That is fueled from hurt. Develop the love within your system, spiritual baths, right? Tea. Get into those processes to help shed some of it, detox them parasitical energies so you'll be more magnetic and attractive in your day-to-day life. So all that being said, man, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. When it's aligned, of course. You know, sometimes even when it's not aligned, I love a little toxic little shit. Is that this? That's what they saying now? Little shit. I like a little. I like a little toxic fine shit. Piece of the tribe, piece of the collective. I'll see y'all on the flip side next video. Shout out to the initiates for the flame. Join the Discord. I'll see y'all on the flip side.